Just when I thought I explored all of the overpowered builds, here comes another build that is probably the most OP build I have ever played. The build pretty much does infinite damage and can instantly kill all the tankiest enemies in the game. You can kill Niak's shield guardians without breaching them. You can kill Thrax without breaching him. And you can kill Gildan Commander without killing any of his ghosts. But before I get into how the build works and how I build it, I want to first say that this build is highly likely to get nerfed, since the interaction I'm exploiting here is way more broken than the pre-nerf ailments. And second, despite being overpowered, it is not a good build. It is not super comfy to play and it can feel clunky and slow at times. So unless you like playing stupid builds and don't mind wasting resources since it will likely get nerfed, I wouldn't recommend anyone try this build. But it is a really fun build to play. So what is happening with this build? The Beetle Talisman unleashes a shockwave that deals fire damage equal to 25% of the damage dealt whenever you consume an ailment. This ring allows me to consume with timing attacks, and I'm using a water dual blade. As you can see, I inflicted ignite after I consumed the ailment, which means the inner focus is allowing us to inflict ailments with the Beetle Talisman shockwave, and because it deals fire damage, so it deals ignite. What this means is that if we consume multiple times, you will be able to ramp up the damage, because each consume is based on the previous consume. Whenever you consume, you trigger the explosion based on the damage of the consume, and it applies the ailment which feeds into the next consume. With dual blades heavy timing attack, it hits 6 times, so you can easily reach trillions of damage if the enemies had infinite health. But because there seems to be a cap in ailment tick damage based on the enemy health pool, you cannot fully experience the overpoweredness of this build, and most enemies can't even survive the first 2 hits anyways. Now let's talk about the gear. Because of how much damage you can deal with this build and how the build scales, I chose to build it very defensively, and I tried to maximize utility. For the weapon, I'm using Bream-Tide Cleavers. Because we have to use Beetle Talisman and this build needs you to be in inner focus, we have to somehow gain inner focus fast without using Lion Talisman. And I'm using Bream-Tide Cleavers for whenever I inflict an ailment, I gain 8% weapon technique charge. This can go up to 10% if you have good rolls, and even 15% if you have primal versions, but you have to have a fire one for it to work. For the secondaries, you want to maximize weapon technique charge speed, and some ailment damage or ailment power is okay too. For the amulet, I'm using Grandmaster's Station. This gives me Mark of Weakness, which is very good defensively, and also this allows me to use Petrifying Slam to inflict ailments whenever I don't have inner focus. So if I'm in a crowd of enemies and I don't have inner focus, I will just use Petrifying Slam to slam into it, and I will gain at least 1 bar of my inner focus, so I can activate it and one-shot the whole pack easily. For the secondaries, I chose to go cap to all res and all res. As you can see, I have 69% all resistances. So yeah, if you want, you can get some cap res here, but you don't really have to. You can also get ailment damage, ailment power ailment duration, or fire damage. For the charm, obviously Beetle Talisman. The secondaries are the same. Fire damage is good, ailment power, ailment duration, and weapon technique charge speed. For the first ring, I'm using Heavenly Reversals to allow my timing attacks to consume. The second ring, I'm using Eye of the Dragon to give me overhealth and overhealth retention. Remember to use Eye of the Dragon because it also gives you weapon technique inflicts ailment, and unless you're using a dual blade like Last Victory, which cannot roll fire, so you have to use a Twin Dragon that has the Last Victory primary on it, which also is fire, to be able to drop Eye of the Dragon. But it also gives you tons of overhealth, so why not use it? For the Lifestone, I'm using Cosmic Aether Stone. You do not need to use a damaged Lifestone here. I only use this for the Archon Fury charge speed, so I can gain my Phoenix Archon Fury faster. And Standard of the Gold Lion, obviously, for weapon technique charge speed. Now for the augment, I chose to go maximum utility here, so I have Spark, Paradise, and Godspeed for weapon technique charge speed, and Presence of Mind to help me cap all my resists. And the only really damage augment is Kindled Core, which allows my fire damage to also affect ignite power as well as fire resist. So you stack fire damage all over the build and get some ailment duration as well, so you can balance out the stats. But you do not need that much. Like I do have a pretty balance of stats, but you probably don't even need this many rolls, and you'll just be able to one shot the whole tower no problem. And for the last Might Augment, I'm using Loyalty for some Archon Fury charge and Archon Fury charge speed whenever I hit a weak point. Rift for a little bit of damage. You can use any Vitality Augment here as long as it has good secondaries. And for the Spirit Augments, I'm using Innervation for some additional Archon Fury duration when I kill enemies, and Scourge for some shield charge whenever I defeat an enemy, so I can use the Petrifying Slap more. And the main reason I'm using Phoenix here is because the Archon Fury. Her augments aren't really that good, but the Archon Fury actually makes this build a lot smoother. So her Archon Fury lets your attacks have 65% chance to inflict ignite, and this also affects the Beetle Talisman. So this is like a backup inner focus in a way, where maybe you get caught in a bad situation or you just want to kill the boss fast. You just pop your Archon and you have 65% chance to inflict ignite. So it's a lot worse than inner focus, which is 100%. But you can still, if you get lucky, you can still chain some ignites together and you will be able to one-shot the boss no problem. Another really good thing here is because it allows your attacks to inflict ignite, combined with the Dual Blade Springtime Cleavers, it will charge your inner focus super fast. So you can also just use your Archon Fury as a way to charge up your inner focus really fast. For the skills, 5 point into weapon technique, 2 point into weapon timing attack to unlock the light and heavy timing attacks, 5 point to Sundering Slam, 5 point to crit chance, to allow us to proc the weapon technique charge speed a little bit more, 5 points to Vitality, 5 points to Archon Fury, 1 point to shield attacks to unlock Petrifying Slam, 5 point to Resistance, 5 point to Spirit, 5 points to Weak Point, Recovery, Ailments, All Stats, and Takedowns. The shield stuff is just because I really like to use the shield throw for travel, and shield prime is kind of just a little bit of free damage. But you can put it in elsewhere, it's no problem. You can put it in banners as well.